Yo guys, what's going on? Draykke here and welcome back to another Minecraft tutorial. What you are looking at right now is the latest version of my multi-level piston elevator that I have completely redesigned from scratch. So while I would typically just dub this as version 2 of the original, it is so different from the original version that I just decided to put it in a category all on its own. So while this elevator retains many of the features of the previous version, such as being infinitely expandable, multi-level, and SMP friendly, it is even more compact, more resource light, and the level selection system is much easier to build. Best of all, this is probably the fastest piston elevator that I have ever made for Minecraft so far. After the testing that I did, it's approximately 14.7 blocks per second, which is the fastest I've ever made, and I believe to be the fastest that I've actually ever seen too. I did a little bit of research online, and this definitely seems to be a really quick piston elevator, especially given it's so small and compact and resource light, so it is really impressive for what it does. So while I did a short little demonstration there in the beginning, it really didn't go into depth about how this thing works. So if you're not familiar with my old model, basically you come over to the selection panel and you choose which floor that you would like to be dropped off at. Now, like I said before, this thing is infinitely expandable. The floors are not set in any way, so you can put in as many floors as you want, wherever you want them. That part does not matter at all, so that is completely up to you. But just for demonstration purposes, as you can see, I've built an elevator that has 3 floors to it in total. So just to demonstrate how this works, you already watched me ride it all the way up to the top, so now I'm going to choose, let's say, the second floor to go to. So if I want to go to the second floor, I just come over to the button, press it, this light will turn on, and now this elevator will drop me off up there at that second floor instead of all the way to the top. So we step inside, walk on this, and there is the second floor. So as you can imagine, this is pretty much just a rinse and repeat type thing. If you want to go to the first floor, you just uncheck the second one, check the first floor, and then hop inside the elevator again, and it will drop you off the first one. Just like that. And as I mentioned before, you can put as many floors as you'd like, you can make this elevator as tall as you'd like, it does not matter at all. So without further ado, let's crack on with this tutorial. So before we begin, you kind of need to know the resources that are going to be involved with this, because that'll help you determine how much you're going to need, especially if you already know the height of your elevator or how many floors you would actually like to make this. So these are the following base materials that you're going to need to start building this elevator, and that is everything down below over here underground that you really can't see. So it's just the basic stuff that you're going to need to get started before you can actually start building the elevator itself. So the base materials for this elevator goes as follows. You're going to need approximately 9 building blocks of any kind. It does not have to be a certain type of all. Whatever you decide for it to be, you just have to place redstone and obviously place some pistons and such on them. You're also going to need 7 half slabs of any kind, 11 pieces of redstone dust, 4 redstone repeaters, 3 redstone torches, 2 redstone comparators, 2 regular pistons, 1 sticky piston, and 1 stone pressure plate. You're also going to need 2 immovable objects of any kind. They can be furnaces, obsidian, chests, or any other type of immovable block in Minecraft. You just have to have it for the top of the elevator once you're all done. And then for the down function of the elevator, rather than putting in this convoluted system of a whole bunch of sticky pistons firing off at the same time to let you down, it's a lot easier just to place a slime block, especially with the 1.8 update, or just a block of water to catch your fall. Okay, and these are the following materials that you're going to need per level of your elevator. And by level, I'm not referring to the floors of your elevator. Obviously, I have no way of knowing where you're going to put your floors at, so I cannot tell you the resource cost for that. What I'm referring to by a level is basically a sticky piston and its regular piston in association with the block next to it, as well as the next level. And plus all the redstone behind to power that. So basically, we're just taking this in chunks of 2. Now, by no means does this elevator have to be even or odd, for that matter. You can make it whatever you'd like, however it ends up being as tall as you want it to be. But this is just for building's sake. It makes it a lot easier to count resources. So you're going to need the following materials per level of your elevator, and that is every 2 blocks. You're going to need 13 building blocks of any kind, 5 half slabs of any kind, 9 pieces of redstone dust, 2 regular pistons, 2 sticky pistons, 3 redstone repeaters, and 2 glass panes or iron bars, it does not matter. And finally, you're going to want the following base materials for the selection system, which is these buttons and all that over here to control which floor you want dropped off on at. Now, what I mean by the base materials, I mean everything back here located behind. I'm not including the torch towers that lead up to the sticky pistons, which we'll cover a little bit later on. Now, I'm not covering those resources simply because they vary. It depends on where to put your floors of your elevator if you're putting in any floors at all, so I can't really tell you what resources are involved because I simply don't know. That all depends on you. But what I can tell you is the resource cost for the panels down here for every level of your elevator. So this is going to include the resources that you're going to need for each level of your elevator that you decide to implement. You're going to need 4 building blocks of any kind, 2 half slabs of any kind, 3 redstone torches, 1 redstone comparator, 2 hoppers, 1 redstone lamp, 1 button, 1 sticky piston, and 1 junk item. It can be anything in Minecraft, it does not matter. And you're probably also going to want a sign or two just to allow people to realize how to use the elevator and kind of guide them along. As I mentioned before too, you're also going to want some additional resources to make the torch towers, but that all depends on how big you actually make your floors or how tall up you make them rather. And then you're also probably going to need some additional redstone dust and some additional redstone repeaters, but once again, that is entirely up to how you wire it, so I can't give you those resources. Alright, so now let's actually start putting this thing together. So to begin building this, you want to dig a trench that is 2 by 6 by 3. That is 2 wide by 6 long by 3 blocks deep, and just note that this leftmost block closest to you is going to be where the pressure plate of the elevator goes. So by that I mean this pressure plate right here that activates the entire system. So that can kind of give you an idea about where you want to put this thing at. So in this block here, you're going to place a regular building block, and I'm just going to put a lapis block, that way you guys know where it's at. And this is basically going to be your pressure plate, and the chamber of the elevator is going to go back here. So after you've placed your first block here in this leftmost corner, you can go and put your pressure plate on top of it. Now if you come underneath that block, you want to place 1 block below with a piece of redstone dust. You want to place 2 redstone comparators going in a circuit motion, so 1 redstone comparator facing like this, block in front, redstone dust next to that block to the right, redstone comparator facing backwards towards the front of the design, and another piece of redstone dust connecting with that original one that you placed. So if you're viewing this from the front, it should look just like this. Alright, next you want to come to the opposite side of that block that you just placed in front of this first comparator, place another piece of redstone dust, place a repeater facing towards the back of the design, a block in front of the repeater with a redstone torch on the right side, block on top of that redstone torch in the side of that block, and a block on top of that redstone torch. Alright, now on top of that last block that you just placed, you can place a piece of redstone dust. Next to it, 1 block down, you want to place a redstone torch. And then coming off of that original block here that we placed, you want to place 3 half slabs leading towards the front of the design, just like this. Now in front of those half slabs, you want to place your first regular piston facing directly upwards, just like that. And you can go ahead and put a block in here too to block off the entrance to the elevator. Now coming off this redstone torch, place 2 pieces of redstone dust, and then a redstone repeater leading into that first piston. So if you step on this, that piston will boost you up. Alright, now comes the long, tedious process of placing all of these sticky pistons and regular pistons. So to start this out, you want to come right in front of where you placed that first regular piston at, go 2 blocks behind it, and place 2 blocks just like this. And so basically you're going to be making the same design and repeating it over and over for as tall as you want this elevator to be. Now you do not have to worry about where you're putting the floors of your elevator, if you're putting in any floors. Right now we're just actually building the structure of it, and then we can implement those in later. So after you got those 2 blocks placed, place a sticky piston on the back coming off of that block, and then a regular piston facing directly upward. Now you're going to keep repeating this pattern, but now you're just going to flip it around. So 2 regular blocks on top of those, sticky piston, regular piston, and then just rinse and repeat. So 2 blocks, sticky piston, regular piston, rinse and repeat. Alright, so because I'm just building this for demonstration purposes, I did not actually go to any specific height. I just did a random size for an elevator, and we're just going to work with that, just so I can show you guys how it's done. But for you, it might be a little bit more specific. You might have a certain level you're trying to get to, or you're putting in certain floors at certain heights. So for you, it might be a little bit more specific, but for me, this is going to be okay. So after you got this entire tower of regular and sticky pistons built, you just want to come to the top of your elevator now and place those 2 immovable blocks. So like I said, it can be furnaces, obsidian, chests, or whatever. Just put them on top of all those pistons just like that. Alright, so now you just want to place blocks on either side of where the chamber of the elevator is going to be, which is these 2 blocks inside here. So you just want to come to one side and just start placing blocks all the way up until you reach the top of the elevator, and do the same exact thing on the other side. Alright, now you can start placing the glass panes that we need to place for this elevator. So they follow a staggered pattern all the way up, and you're going to have to adjust them depending on where you put the levels of your elevator, if you're putting in any levels, that is. But for right now, we can go ahead and place them, and then you can modify later on. So starting on top of this pressure plate, you want to place your first glass pane. Now, you want to place the next glass pane to the right of that one and stagger up one block. So the easiest way to do this is probably to get some dirt, especially if you're in survival mode, and just place them between the panes, that way you can place it easy. So you can place a piece of dirt on top of that glass pane, and then place one up there. You'll see it's the upper right of that one. And you basically just want to keep staggering this pattern over and over until you reach the top of your elevator. But for me, since I'm in creative, it's a lot easier if I can just quickly place them, you know, like this. Alright, before we continue on any further, there's one thing that I need to make note of, and I had to do this with my previous elevator too. I honestly do not know why I had to do this, because when we're talking about redstone, it makes zero sense whatsoever, but for some reason in Minecraft, this is something that you have to do with this elevator. So wherever you want your elevator to end at, so say this is the level that I want to put my first floor, just, you know, for example. So we're going to go ahead and build that out. This is going to be my first floor. I cannot end the elevator like this. I should be able to, but for some reason Minecraft wants to stick you down here, and the pistons will kind of block you in and stop you from progressing any further. So to combat that, you need to move the floor up here 3 more levels. So if I want to get off here, I have to extend these pistons up 3 more levels. So I need to do one like this, and then 2 more staggering upwards like this. And you'll notice on my original design, I did the same exact thing. I honestly do not know why you have to do this, as I mentioned, but for some reason the elevator will not work otherwise. I've tried every other variation, and for some reason you have to have that extra 3. So to see what it looks like on a complete elevator, you can come over here. So if this is my last floor and where I want to get off at, you'll have to have 3 more pistons staggering upwards like that, with the 2 immovable blocks above them. Alright, so now we're going to start putting in the actual redstone of this design. Everything that's going to go in the back of the elevator has to come next. So this one varies a lot differently than my previous elevator, in that it doesn't use any torch towers or anything like that, but instead it kind of uses like a redstone wrapping technique, where it kind of just wraps the redstone around from level to level onto the next level and keeps moving upward. Alright, so to start this off, you want to come to the back of the design where this piece of redstone dust is at, and you want to place a half slab between it and the first sticky piston of the elevator. Next, you want to come to what will be the left side of that same block and place another half slab. Place a full block between those 2 half slabs like this. Place a half slab on top of this first sticky piston here on the side. Place a half slab down here below this first regular piston, and then place a full block just above that block, so it should be between the 2 regular pistons here starting out. Alright, now on the back of the elevator, you want to place your first redstone repeater, place it on full tick delay, wrap the redstone up around here, and then place another repeater on this first half slab here, going into this block, and then place a piece of redstone dust on that block, and a piece of redstone dust on the first half slab. So from now on, there's really 2 ways of going about building this. The one way might be a little bit easier for you guys, especially if you're building this in survival mode. But the way that I like to do it is kind of segmentally. So do the entire portion of an elevator all at once, and then move on to the next portion and do all of it all at once. So I will show you how to do it from start and just kind of move up layer per layer, because it might be easier. But for the most part, I'll just be doing it segmentally. So to continue on from here, you want to come to where that redstone dust was at, come to the upper left quadrant of that and place a half slab right there on that sticky piston in the back, place a full block next to that half slab that you just placed, and then you want to place a half slab 1 block down from that, just like this, place a full block right next to that to the left of it, place a half slab going into that next sticky piston, and then you can place a half slab down here behind this sticky piston as well, place a half slab down here, and then place 2 full blocks coming across like this, with a half slab there, a full block in front of that half slab, and then a half slab down below. So if you look at this design, it is exactly a repeat of what we just did down below, minus a couple blocks here on the side, because that was just the first sticky piston snap that we had set up. But basically, this pattern just gets repeated. So while it looks complicated at first and a little bit hard to follow, it's actually very easy to keep mimicking. All you do is just flip it around on the opposite side. So moving forward, you want to come to that first half slab that you just got done placing. You want to place redstone dust wrapping all the way around on the back of all of these blocks. And on this half slab here going into this full block, you want to place another repeater. 2 pieces of redstone dust on the block it's going into, and then the half slab down below. And then you want to come to the back again and place 2 redstone repeaters going into each one of the back of these sticky pistons. Now the ones on the right will always go on full tick delay, the ones on the left will always go on 2 tick delay, or 1 tick shy of a full tick delay. So as I mentioned now, this redstone just keeps getting repeated over and over and over again, depending on how tall you made your elevator. The only thing is, some of the redstone will just flip around the opposite direction in order to continue up. So if you notice, if the signal travels from here, it's going to go up to this repeater, and then travel upward on this row and innervate all these back pistons. And we want to do the same exact thing on this side, so we want this signal to continue around the opposite direction. So to do that, you want to place another half slab on that back sticky piston, 2 full blocks, half slab jutting down, and these ones can be a little bit difficult to do, just like that. Place a half slab going into that sticky piston, 1 going into there, full block there. Place your half slab on top of that, on top of this redstone dust down below and next to this block. Place a full block on top of that, just like this. Another half slab, full block, and then a half slab down below. And then once again, you just want to repeat what we just did down below. So starting from this redstone dust here, wrap it all the way around in the back. Over to this half slab here, place a redstone repeater, redstone dust on top, redstone dust below, and then 2 repeaters in the back. Full tick delay, and 2 tick delay. So I'm going to do a couple more just so you guys can get the hang of it, because this pattern is a little bit difficult to follow just because of the way this is set up, but hopefully you can catch on pretty quickly, and after you do a few, it should get a little bit easier to understand as well. It's just a little bit difficult to follow, especially considering how it wraps around and just all of the redstone. It just looks really, really bulky in the back, but hopefully once you get a good understanding of it, it is easy to follow along. So once again, just repeating the same pattern over and over, and just like that. So we'll just continue that pattern over and over. Alright, so that is the convenient way of doing it in survival mode. Might be a little bit easier, but what might be easier for you guys to understand is just to kind of do it segmentally, as I mentioned before. Now, this probably will require a lot of dirt tower derping, but hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to follow along if you can't understand this setup. So basically, let's start with the left side of the design, and then we'll work on from there. So notice down below, we started here with a half slab. Next block was a full block. Next block was a half slab. Next block was a full block. I think you guys can get the idea from here. So basically, just start on this left side, and you're just going to continue up this pattern over and over. So make sure you place the half slab just underneath the regular piston, so it should be on the block down below. Skip a block, place your regular block, and then just keep repeating this pattern all the way to the top of your elevator. And you want to do the same exact thing on the opposite side. Alright, next come to the left side of the design again, and you'll notice that each one of these repeaters going into the full blocks is on a half slab, and each of the redstone dust is also on a half slab. So you'll notice that it is placed next to every sticky piston on the left side, and you just want to continue this pattern all the way up. So the half slabs will just go at the top of every sticky piston on the left side, and the right side as well. Alright, now in the back, you're just going to come behind each one of these sticky pistons and place a half slab leading into every single sticky piston, just like this. Alright, next you want to come behind each one of the left side of that sticky piston, or what would be the right side of the design if you're looking at it from the front, and you just want to place an additional half slab coming off of each one of those. So you'll notice here that down below we have the repeaters and then a half slab followed behind them. So that's basically what we're doing here, and if you want to, you can go ahead and place on your redstone repeaters and put the timing in as well, because that's the next step. Alright, now come behind each one of the blocks of the right side, or what would be the left-sided sticky pistons if you're looking at this from the front, and you're just going to place a full block behind each one of those, as you may notice in the layers that I already did here. So, full block, and that's pretty much it. Alright, so now we need to start placing the repeaters for this system, and as I already mentioned, you could have done this when you did the half slabs and full blocks, but I kind of like to do it separately just because it makes it a little bit easier. So if you're looking at this from the back, as I am right now, you just want to start on the left side, and you want to put these all on 2-tick delay, and then place all the ones on the right on full tick delay, and just keep repeating this pattern over and over and over again until you reach the top of your elevator. Alright, now starting on the left side of the design again, after you have those repeaters in place, you'll notice here on the side that there is a full block every other block, and we're pretty much just going to repeat that pattern. So, coming off of every one of those half slabs that you've already placed, just place a full block coming off just like this. Alright, and finally you want to come to the left side of the design again in the back, and you'll notice here that we have half slabs placed alongside these regular blocks here in the back, and we want to just continue that pattern on. So, starting here from where these full tick repeaters are at, right behind them is a full block, right next to them you want to keep placing your half slabs all the way up, going to the top of your elevator, however tall it is. Okay, now on every single one of those blocks that you place that you didn't place a repeater, you want to place redstone dust, and we'll kind of just follow that wrapping pattern on from now on. So, as you noticed over here, we have this kind of wrapping around. We want to continue this signal on. So, starting from this repeater, I'm just going to wrap it around with redstone dust until we reach the other side, and you want to place a redstone repeater going into this block. An easy way of thinking about this is once again following a pattern. So, starting on the left side, we have a repeater, redstone dust, repeater, redstone dust, repeater, redstone dust, and we just continue on that pattern if that's your way of doing things. And same exact thing on the right side of the design as well. So we started out with a repeater, then dust, repeater, dust. Now we do the same exact thing here. So repeater, dust, you guys get the idea. Alright, so continuing on from where we left off, now you can just place redstone dust on every single block that doesn't have a repeater on it. So literally just all the way around the elevator, you're just placing redstone dust on every block that we didn't touch on yet. Alright, now that you're all done with that, you may need to continue up your walls here on the left and right side just to kind of cover up the dust, and it actually does serve a purpose to finish off the last of those repeaters that we have as well. So remember, there has to be at least 3 more levels at the top of your elevator. You do not need this for each individual floor that you put in, only for the top of your elevator. Alright, at this point in time, the elevator itself is 100% done, but I would highly recommend going around the back and just making sure that redstone dust is on every single block. If redstone dust is not in one of these blocks, then the elevator will fail, and you will know it immediately. Luckily, you can kind of gauge where it's at, so if the elevator stops you at a certain level, so say it stops you here, it's kind of easy to go around the back side and just see where the redstone dust is missing at. So that's nice, but I would highly recommend going and double checking all of the redstone, especially because it's really easy to miss one block on this. So. But if you'd like, you can go ahead and test this out. If you want to ride it, you can. I'm just going to go ahead and step on the pressure plate just to watch them all fire, make sure everything looks okay. All looks good on that end, and now you can go ahead and give it a ride. So when you go in to ride this thing, you just want to kind of walk on top of this pressure plate and stay in between the 2 corners of these glass panes here, and that will pretty much just guide you all the way up. So let's go for a ride. Oh, thing works beautifully. Okay, now comes the level selection of this system. If you're just using this as an elevator, then this is not necessary. You won't have to put this in at all. You can just use this just as we build it. But if you'd like to put in floors like I have over there, it's very easy to do. It just takes a little bit more redstone work and just a little bit more time to build it. So because I built this thing from scratch and didn't really follow any kind of guidelines at all, I'm just going to make a couple random floors. So let's say I want my first floor to be right here. This will be my first floor. This here will be my second floor. And that is what we have to work with. So as I may have mentioned before, if you do go to put in floors, these glass panes will probably have to change. And in this case, they definitely do where I want to put this floor at. So I just want to go ahead and select some more glass panes here. And as I said, you could have held off from doing this, but I just decided to do it because it's a lot easier to follow. But starting here wherever your floor is at, you can place 2 glass panes wherever your floor ends. And then you want to skip up 3 blocks high. So starting here, let's count up 1, 2, 3. And then you want to place your first glass pane on the left side. And then from there, you can continue on and build it up until your next floor or the top of your elevator. So right here is my next one. Once again, I can put 2 glass panes here. I want to skip up 3 blocks. So 1, 2, 3. Place the first pane there. And then from there, we can go ahead and start staggering it onwards. So I'll try to build these without having to break too many of these things. I did it. Shh. You see nothing. Alright, now if you want to, you can go ahead and go to wherever your floor is at, and we can put in the sticky pistons. This is not really something that has to be involved with the step. This can be done later on, but I kind of just like to get out of the way. So, on the right side of wherever your floor ends at, you want to place 2 glass panes on the side blocks just like that, and you need to place 2 sticky pistons behind each one of those glass panes. So I'm going to try to place them here without having to destroy too many blocks. So just like that, and you want to do the same for however many floors you have. Like I said, this is infinitely expandable, so you guys might be building 20 floors. I'm not actually sure how many you're planning on putting in here, but however many you put, this is exactly what you need to do over and over and over again. Okay, now starts the level selection system. So I want to build it just like the one that I built over here because it works out really well. This one is definitely a lot easier to follow than the old design. It's roughly the same amount of resources, but it's also just a lot smoother. So starting on the right side of your elevator here, you want to place 3 blocks coming up like that, and then you can just place a row going on the bottom here. And for however many floors that you put in, you're going to want to put that many redstone lamps spaced out 1 block apart. So in this case, I have 3 floors, just like my demonstration. So the first one I want to place is right here. Skip a block. Right here, skip a block, right here, and then place your final block. So if you have 20 floors, you can see how this could take up a little bit more room. But for me, for demonstration purposes, this is exactly what I want. Alright, now below each one of these redstone lamps we place, we want to place a stone button, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and put signs just marking each one of these floors as well. That way it's a little bit easier to follow along. So first one's floor 1, this one's floor 2, and this one will be floor 3. Now the nice thing about the last floor of the elevator is you don't need to press any buttons. I'll just put no buttons there, because we don't need it. So basically the way this works is you can see from over here the old model I have running over here, you just wire this up to those sticky pistons we put in before, and it just kind of activates those when you press the button. So the last level of your elevator, say that you have a 10-floor elevator, you do not need to build what I'm about to show you for the last level, and so you don't need to press any buttons. You'll see here I also have press nothing because no button press is needed for this to work. So if you want to go to floor number 3, which is my last floor, you don't need to press anything, you just have to make sure that everything is checked off so that nothing is selected. Alright, so now we want to come around the back of this level selection system and just kind of dig a little bit of a trench back here. No exact diameters, but just kind of dig out around it. You'll have to place some blocks down below. So as you can see, I kind of just dug out a trench back here. Like I said, no exact dimensions, especially because it depends on how many levels you put in your elevator, so this could be bigger or smaller. But for me, this is a good size. It does not have to be this big at all. I just did it so you guys can see what I'm doing. So underneath this first block here, this is where our button's at. We want to place 2 hoppers down beneath it, and you kind of want to place a block first, place a hopper on it, and then place a hopper feeding back into that hopper. So directly underneath that button, we're basically just making a redstone loop, if you want to think of it that way. And then in the back of this block with a button on it, you want to place a redstone torch, and then on top of each one of these hoppers, you want to place a piece of redstone dust, and you'll notice it turns on like this. Alright, now coming off the back of these hoppers, so if you're looking at this from the front, you want to come to this lastmost hopper underneath this torch, place a redstone comparator coming off of it, block in front of that redstone comparator, redstone torch on top, block on top of the torch, redstone torch on top, and block on top of that torch. And now you want to place 2 half slabs coming from this first redstone lamp leading into this block. And then you want to place 2 pieces of redstone dust going into that block above the redstone lamp. Alright, now just come to this first hopper that we placed underneath that button, and you just want to throw in 1 junk item. As I mentioned before, it can be any item in Minecraft. It does not matter. If you just have extra resources, you can just throw them in there, but it doesn't have to be anything of value, so there's no sense of wasting extra resources on it. I would just recommend like a piece of dirt or something you had extra. Alright, so now just do the same exact thing that we just did for the next button, or however many levels you have, if you have any levels for that matter. So just starting underneath this second redstone lamp here, we're going to place 2 more hoppers facing into each other, 2 pieces of redstone dust on top, redstone torch on the back of that block where the button's at, redstone comparator coming off, block in front of the comparator, torch, block, and then 2 half slabs leading into this redstone lamp with 2 pieces of redstone dust leading into the block above it. And then once again, place another junk item in this first hopper that we placed underneath there. Alright, so if you want to test that you did that portion right, just come to the front and press one of the buttons that you did for your floors. So if I press floor number 1, this light should stay on. If I press it again, this light should stay off. And same thing with the next button as well. However many floors you have, like I said, the only one that you do not need to put in is the last floor of your elevator. In this case, that is floor number 3. Alright, so the next portion of redstone is not set in any particular redstone way. As you can see, I kind of just extended up this torch tower, and the reason I don't have any way to show you guys exactly how to build this is because it depends on how many levels your elevator is, where you put the floors at, etc., etc. So there's too many variables for me to say exactly how to build it. Thankfully, this portion is super easy to grasp around. It's basically just a straight, solid, vertical redstone torch tower, so it's really easy to follow along. The only thing to remember is if the button down below is pressed, say for instance, you want the corresponding sticky pistons to be retracted. So in this case, I want these sticky pistons to not be extended, and I'm basically just going to carry this signal from the torch tower that I made back here. So I'm just going to kind of extend this over. Let's see here. I will place a block there, a block coming off, and a redstone repeater going into it with some redstone dust. So as you can see, that button down there is pressed and these are not extended. If I come down here and press this button now and turn that light off, these should both extend out. So essentially what we're doing here is, if the lights are not lit up, you want the sticky pistons to be extended. If they are lit up, you want the sticky pistons of that corresponding level to be retracted. So that's basically how you should go about wiring this. Like I said, you're going to need some additional redstone dust and repeaters and whatnot just to kind of run it over, but there's no set way of doing this. But I will go ahead and do this next one with you guys to show you how I did the first one. So I'm just going to go ahead and build this tower straight up like this, and I want to just take it all the way up to where my next floor is at, which I do not think it was too far from my first floor just because this is for demonstration purposes, but for right now this is good to go. So there's my next sticky pistons over there. I'm just going to kind of run them over in no particular manner. So put that first block like that, I'll put a redstone repeater, some dust, and let's just kind of run it over like this and run it across. So as I mentioned, if that button is not pressed, you want the sticky pistons to be extended, in which case, here they are. So if I was to come down here and press that button now, it will turn the light on, and those sticky pistons up here should be retracted, allowing you to exit on that floor. So basically all these sticky pistons are doing is preventing you from leaving on that certain floor. However, if you press that button, it will allow you to leave on that floor. Alright, well since my elevator only had 3 floors, that is it for this entire tutorial, so I can now go ahead and show you guys the final product. So I guess let's go ahead and ride it up all the way to the top, just to show that we won't get pushed out in the various levels. So I'm just going to step inside. Once again, I want to step directly on top of this pressure plate, stay in between these 2 corners of the glass panes, and it will just kind of hug you all the way up and guide you. So let's go for a ride. Alright. There's the final floor, and so now if I want to go to, say, the 2nd floor, I will come down here, press floor number 2, the button will light up, the pistons up here should retract, and now if I go ahead and ride the elevator up, it should take me to floor number 2 and drop me off. And there is floor number 2. So it also has automatic ejection, which is really, really nice, because it just pushes you out on the corresponding level that you chose. Alright guys, well that is it for this entire tutorial. Please let me know what you think in the comments section. I spent a lot of time, a lot of man hours building this thing. It was just a very fun experience, but very daunting because I was trying to top my old piston elevator, which honestly I did not think I could really do, but here it is. Here it is, version 2, which I am just declaring in its own category because it is so vastly different from the first one, but I definitely think it is a huge, huge upgrade. So if you guys enjoyed this tutorial and it helped you out in any way, please do me a solid and drop it a like down below. It helps me out so much. It really supports the channel a lot. And if you haven't already and you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I do tons of stuff like this, tons of other stuff. I have a lot of Let's Plays on my channel, which I highly encourage you to go check out. However, I just want to warn you they have a lot of mature content in them. I kind of separate myself from the tutorials and my Let's Play channels. So please know that they have a lot of mature content, but hopefully you guys can enjoy them as well. So thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you next time. Okay, you're smart. I'm gonna say, don't be an idiot. What? What? Okay, pull the revolver out. It's not gonna stop. Pull out the revolver, come on. Don't stop. What? Holy sh**. My tits off.